Good morning, students. In the previous class, I given a small introduction to namespace. Namespace that is utilized in XML schema, or that is XML documents. Here, a default namespace is also specified. That is here XML-NS. So XML-NS is used to specify the namespace. Now I will go for XML schema. So there are two type of schema for XML file. One is older one which is already obsoleted, that is document type definition, and the new one is XML schema. XML schema provides detailed definition about the tags or elements that are going to use in our XML documents and their related attributes. And also XML schema provides more number of data types, that is 44 different data types in XML schema, whereas in DTD it is up to 10 only. And also XML schema provides more control over the type of value that can be associated with an element. So for example, if an numeric field contains only 7 digits, we can specify such type of restrictions, whereas such type of restriction are not possible in DTD. Schema can be considered as a class, and XML document that is based on that schema can be considered as object. So students, we are already familiar with object oriented programming concept. In this language we will define our own data type, that is class. There are many fields and many methods or member functions. Similar analogy is also utilized in XML schema and XML document development. Here schema are considered as a class. So a schema is similar to class definition, and an XML document that conforms to the structure defined in the schema is similar to object of the schema's class. So we have created class type of programming in Java language. There we are defining Java class and we are creating object of that class. Likewise here is we are creating schema, that is XML schema, and that XML schema is considered as class, and the XML document where the actual data is entered, and that file, that is XML document, considered as instances of the schema. So schema fundamentals. So there are schemas generally have two purposes. One is it provides structure of documents along with the elements and its attributes, and also it provides many data types of the every element. So here is a data type is also provided. For example, if I want to provide or create an XML element, for example, that is age, as we already know, in age field we will enter only numeric data, whereas in the person's name we can enter name, and since it is a alphanumeric field, so we can enter numeric data along with the characters also. But in age field it is always number, and also salary of a person. So in that field we will enter only numeric data, and usually it will be floating point value because a salary of a person may contain fraction in values. So that is the purpose. One is structure, name of elements, their attributes, and also the data type of every element and the data type of the attributes. These are the two purposes of schema in XML. So before going to the advantages of the XML schema, let us go through the disadvantages of DTD. So this is one important question in exam they will ask. What are the disadvantages of DTD? First one is DTD syntax is unrelated to XML. We already seen that XML schema, that is elements defined in XML is entirely not related to XML style. We already know in XML we are creating our own tags and that are defined in DTD file, but the syntax is entirely different. So since the DTD is not in XML style, so we cannot parse it in XML processor or XML parser. Since the syntax is entirely different, so developer has to deal with two different type of syntactic forms. One is XML style and DTD style, and it does not allow any restrictions. As I already explained just now, we can provide some restrictions for any type of values or any elements. For example, number of digits to be entered and also range of values. For example, age of a person cannot be more than 100. But if we are not specified such type of restriction, we can enter a age of a person as 300, 400, which are meaningless. It is a numerical value, but it has no meaning. So we cannot rely on such type of data. We cannot calculate a person's age that crosses 100 or 200, 300, and also we cannot enter a person's age in negative values also. Such type of restriction cannot be provided in DTDs, but XML schema provides such features. With DTDs, there are only 10 data types, whereas in XML schema it is 44, and also there is no support for namespace. So in XML schema we can have multiple namespaces and we can borrow different elements, say similar elements from different namespaces with different meanings. And it does not provide any constraints on the kind of character data that is allowed. For example, if you are providing email data of a person, then there should be ampersand symbol. If without ampersand symbol, if you are entering any email address, that means it will be considered as invalid value. If there is a constraint is not provided, so no such constraint is provided while entering processing such data, you enter any character data that will be considered as email value. So we have to provide it properly. And there is no feature for code modularity and inheritance. So we cannot have modular structure of in DTD, and also we cannot inherit existing DTD file in new one. And also if the DTDs are large, it is very hard to read and maintain. And moreover, no default values for elements and attributes. Coming to the XML advantages of XML schema. XML schema, it should be XML schema. Advantages of XML schema over DTD. XML schema are again written in XML. So syntax is same, so developer need not to learn two different unrelated syntaxes. It provides 44 different data types for elements as well as attributes. XML schema provides supports for namespaces. So we can define different namespaces and we can include those namespaces in our XML documents. It also provides number and order of child elements. How many how many child elements can be existed in an element, and also order of the elements. So if an element does contain some child elements, their order is important. For example, a person's name can be split into three parts, that is first name, mid name and last name. If first name, mid name and last name are child elements for the name person, then order of the child elements is very important, because while parsing the informations we need the sequence of the child elements in a correct order. XML also has its own DOM module, whereas DT does not have it, so we can manipulate with in the XML codes. Since XML schema is same written in the XML language, so user need not to learn a new language syntax. XML schemas are extensible. That means we can inherit existing schema in our new XML schema file where detailed is not extensible. Now coming to how XML schema is declared. So just will go for the some explanation. Every schema has a schema as its root element. So I will show the code later. And here is the prefix that will be used in the XML file for prefixing the elements XSD. For example, it's an example. XSD is not a fixed one. We can go for any unutilized use prefix. XMLNS stands for XML namespace colon prefix name, that is XSD, and we are provided the namespace as a URI, that is Uniform Resource Identifier. So here is a namespace is provided. XSD is prefixed as XML schema. So XSD is considered as XML schema and definition is provided in this URI. And we are creating the XML prefix, that is names schema prefix as XSD, and target is to be provided for which application or web application we are creating this. So we need to provide one more attribute for schema, that is target namespace. Here N is capital and this is the URI. That means the developer's website name. If the element can have default namespace to support it, then one more attribute is there, that is element forum default, and it should be provided with the value qualified. So that is like this, element forum default qualified. And if I want to provide default namespace without any prefix, so we can give like this also. Observe that in this example, target namespace and default namespace are same. It need not be same, it can be different also. Let's go for the example. So here is XSD is the prefix that we are defining to prefix our elements, and this is the schema. Observe it. Schema is the root element in the XML schema definition. XMLNS prefix, it is here, and this schema definition for the target, that is this is the URI. And if in the schema, if there is a default namespace, it can be provided for the XMLNS attribute without any prefix like this. Observe that here in this place XSD prefix is used and this is used for the target this location. That means here XSD is defined as per the definition provided in this location. So here is XML schema XSD is created, and for the location this one, that's a namespace, and default namespace XMLNS without any prefix, and give one different URI. And element forum default is required if I'm providing a default namespace. If default namespace is not mentioned, then these two lines can be omitted. As already told, XML schema is declared and we are creating instance of that element schema, that is XML document. In the XML document we have to create, that means we have to include the definitions, that is schema definition, by using XMLNS. So instance of schema must include specifications of the namespace it uses. For example, here is XMLNS is the namespace for the root element planes, that is from the specified URI. So this URI is provided with the specification here in the previous example, that is here target namespace, and this is explained. So XSD is declared here in this according to XML schema definition. Target namespace is here, so namespace is taken from this place. So now XML planes will have the definition from this namespace, and we have to provide the location from where it is. So that is, I am creating instance of that specification, that is schema location, and for that schema location we have to use the attribute, that is XML schema instance. XML schema instance here is in XML document, it is XSI, and it is according to the definition provided by the w3.org XML schema hyphen instance. So these are the terms, you should remember it. The third attribute, one more, in XML schema instance must specify the file name. So in the DTD we have provided by using system keyword, and here we have to provide the schema location. So to provide the XML schema definition, that is here is schema location attribute used, and it takes two values. One is namespace of the schema and also file name of the schema. So XMLNS schema instance namespace must be imported, that is XI schema location. There are two values, that is one is here is URI, that's the namespace path, and name of the file planes.xsd, that is XML schema is stored as a text file with extension .xsd. Here is plain schema is the namespace for the schema location. So we have to provide the schema location with the namespace and file name. Observe that there is no forward sign or separator, there is only a white space, so that it is separated by white space. That is one tag character or one space character can be utilized to separate them, but still they are single string. Observe here is double quote starts here, double quotes end here. So these two values must be separated by a space. Here is the example. Planes is the root element in the XML instance, the XML document, that is schema instance or schema object. We have provided default namespace from this location, and XSI is the prefix in the XML document, and that is based on the definition of XML schema instance as provided by w3.org, and the location of the schema definition, that is XSI colon schema location. Observe here is I have declared XSI according to XML schema instance definition provided by w3org. Afterwards I will use the prefix XSI colon schema location, and this schema location is the attribute defined in XML schema instance. So this definition is taken from this specific this URI. So XSI colon schema location is read by this place, that is two values, plain schema and next one is plains.xsd. Okay students, so here it completes today's topic, that is XML schema definition. So in the previous, so in the next coming classes I will cover the last portion, that is types of XML elements, that is data types, simple types and complex, and also